Hi, this is Earth. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different and show you a little bit about how arpeggiators work in Sytrus, how the arpeggiator breaks work, and more interestingly, how you can combine them together to create really complex things in Sytrus. So, for this example, I'm going to be using the Hammond Organ 1 preset. We made it in the first using Sytrus tutorial. If you don't have this file yet and want to grab it to follow along, you can find it at this website here, www.cafebeatpub.com/fl/Sytrus So, just for reference, this is what the bass instrument sounds like. Or not. Let's see, get out of there. Okay, so let's make this into an arpeggiator. In the operator 1 volume envelope, let's first start by clearing out these points, and then enable the envelope and definitely tempo-based time. I'm going to turn off step editing. I'm going to add 1 point right there, and another point right here. So then with this first lower point, right-click it, click Loop Start, and with the last point, select Loop End. And with this, it's going to repeat this chord, C major, every time this envelope completes. I believe I have it set to quarter note. Yeah, that was set to quarter note. So, let's see what we can do with this now. There's a lot of power here in the arpeggiator break section. For instance, see what happens if I change this to previous. Every note following the first note is walking down the chord. So it plays the chord initially, and then G, E, C in a pattern like that. If we select same, it's going to play one note over and over after the first one. In this case, the lowest note in the chord, the C, that's going to be based off of, with the same selection, it's going to be based off what our arpeggiator break is here. More on that in a minute. Next we have the next option, conveniently enough. This, very much like the previous option, is going to walk up the chord, also starting at the root note. I apologize, it actually started at the second note and then walked up. It must be considering this initial note to be the first note of the arpeggiation. Anyways, we can also affect what that first note is here. As it is, the first note playing is the chord itself. But if we change it to previous, the first note played is going to be the highest note in the chord, in this case G4. If we change it to same, it's going to be the lowest note in the chord. And finally, if we change it to next, it'll be the second lowest note in the chord, our E4. Okay, that's all very nice and good, but what can we actually do with this? Well, we can actually make some really complex things here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically copy operator 1's settings into 2 and 3 and layer these. So copy oscillator settings, operator 2, paste oscillator settings, and then the same thing with operator 3. Next, I'm also going to copy the state of the volume envelope, paste it into 2 and 3. So, with operator 2, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the length of this envelope in half, so that instead of every quarter note, it's an eighth note. I'm also going to drop the frequency ratio down to 1. That way it'll produce a bit more of a bass sound. So this, let's see, I'm going to start with same, so that the bass note of the chord plays first. And I'll set this to previous. And make sure to turn up the volume on operator 2. And on operator 3, I think what I'll do is set this one to previous and this one to none. This way our chord will get played for the first quarter note, and then we will walk down the scale. So let's see what happens now. We can get some pretty complex orchestrations with this, as you can see, especially if we change what chord we're sending into this thing. So, especially if we're alternating what the lengths of these volume envelopes are. There are some things you can do in the pitch envelope window, although they're not what you would expect, as I found out earlier. If you do something like that where you have... I'll just make a quick envelope here real quick just to show you. It's going to end up doing things that you're not really expecting it to do. It's not going to shift smoothly up. It's going to end up detuned. I'll change that to a hold. Bring that up. There. Put that in here. So with that just on operator 1, let's see what happens. I'll mute the other two for demonstration. As you can see, we're not quite getting the notes that we thought we would. It gets even weirder if you start changing the arpeggiator break settings. And especially if it's in chord mode. As you can see, you end up getting some very strange results if you attempt to do that, so I typically don't mess with that one so much. But yeah, you can utilize this just about anywhere, other than pitch from what I've seen. In Filter 1, in the cutoffs, in the various band sliders, the wave shape mix, pretty much anywhere. So hopefully you've learned a thing or two about how to use these arpeggiator breaks and how to layer them together to create really cool stuff. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And until next time, have fun using Sytrus.